2-minute break.
I'm good. I'm good. Honestly, I'm good. I'm just trying to keep my head in the game, otherwise I won't make it.
I know.
Yeah, cool.
Just slower. As soon as it slows down a bit, I'll let you go, all right?
Cool.
This is a hard question. Tell me about yourself. I am an adrenaline sport freak. I love the outdoors, love nature. My childhood actually started at the age of 9 because I have very, very little memory of life before my first brain injury. I was involved in a soccer game at school. I was hit in the left temple by the ball. They learnt that I had really bad cerebral hemorrhaging in the frontal parietal lobe, basically like the command center for your brain.
An arteriovenous malformation, or an AVM, is a tangle of abnormal blood vessels that constitutes a connection between an artery and a vein. It basically steals blood from an artery flowing to a vein or a number of veins in the brain. Perhaps the most dangerous effect that an arteriovenous malformation can have is hemorrhage, creating significant neurological injury.
I ended up with total right side paralysis, amnesia of the first 9 years of my life, epilepsy. I was non-verbal for a bit there, had really bad problems with fatigue, language, problem solving, arithmetic, the list goes on. I remember laying there just wanting for it to be over. Never did I think I would ever be able to walk the Kokoda Track. To walk the track alongside my best friend and to have the amazing support of Clubs New South Wales is pretty special.
I met Rani 10 years ago. At the time I was in a really dark spot in my journey after cancer. I was 18 and still figuring out life. She shared her story with me and I was so inspired that someone could go through something like what she went through and come out so strong, positive and just joyful. When I was 13, I was playing a soccer match when this terrible pain struck my right hip. And that was actually the last soccer match that I ever played. The radiologist, he pointed at the screen and he showed a tumour about the size of a tennis ball. It came back as bone cancer, Ewing sarcoma. The most challenging time of my life. From being a soccer player to being stuck in bed, I literally couldn't get up to even to go to the toilet. I even tried committing suicide. What doing the Kokoda Track means to me is a chance to prove to myself that I can do whatever I set my mind to.
Let's go.
I was very inspired by Adam when I met him in Africa, Tanzania, where I support a project through my charity, and that project involves helping and supporting disabled African workers and building housing for them. Adam's been part of that project, and that's where I met him. As a result of his involvement in Tanzania, he gave a talk to around 50 disabled workers in Africa. They were so inspired by his talk, by his speech, that half the group were crying at the end of it. And these were people that were profoundly disabled, but touched by the opportunity to understand in their lives that ability is really within you if you reach for it.
When Rani came out of surgery, groggy as you'd expect, but she didn't seem to improve. And I had a terrible feel, ended up had a vegetable for a child. And one of the nurses there, we actually colluded and decided between us we would push Rani and try and evoke some response in her. We pushed her. And there's nothing there, just blank face. And then there was a rustle under the sheet and a skinny little hand came out and gave us the bird. And I knew then that things were going to be okay. Out of adversity sometimes comes some really good things.
It's pretty crazy to actually think that I didn't stop at one brain hemorrhage. So the same year that I had the first one, they discovered that, yeah, I had another AVM hemorrhage. I was, again, in hospital for a few months after that. And then, yeah, I just began this epic journey of rehabilitation after that.
There was a lot to get through and deal with, and a lot of pain and discomfort, and ultimately a lot of frustration. The only way of dealing with that is to harden up. That's been the nature of Rani for as long as I can remember, really.
Clean in the water. Got a big day tomorrow. They removed my right hip completely, and what I'm left with is the remaining femur moved up into scar tissue and created what they call a false joint. That's what I'm walking the Kokoda with.
With Adam, we not only had to give him long chemotherapy, which is bad enough in its own right, he then had to have the bit of tumour removed to take out a bit of bone, irradiate that out of his body, put it back into his body and reconstruct his pelvis. The big problem, of course, is if they get infection. And that's what happened to Adam. We had to remove much of the bit of bone and fall back on a procedure where we have just an area of scar tissue where he used to have his pelvis, and he walks on that.
Probably one of the worst memories for me was the big operation that Adam had. I think it ended up being 10 or 11 hours, and Ruth and I got to the stage of about 10 hours. We just couldn't stand it. We were walking around the hospital grounds and everything, waiting, and we went back to find out, what was happening. And I remember that, somebody came out of the lift as we were going into the lift to go up to near the operating theatre with a bag, and it was a bag of Adam's bones virtually. His hip, his ischium, whatever it was, and they were being taken over the road to get irradiated and brought back.
After I was finished going in and out of hospital and everything, I attempted to start a normal life. When I found wheelchair tennis, things really turned around for me. It helped me to dream about my future. It helped me have something to look forward to. I wanted to travel the world playing wheelchair tennis and see how good I could get.
Adam was very open, loved it immediately, and never looked back. Basically just got stuck into it. And then I think it was only 4 or 5 months later he became a junior rep for the Australian team.
December of 2011, I went home to make an attempt at the London Paralympics in September 2012. By the time the opening ceremony of the Paralympics came around, I was ranked 23 in the world.
There's certainly an enormous determination to achieve and to do things with his life and not waste opportunities.
Up that way, so
Go that way?
I don't know. Right in the middle of that. Through the back. It wasn't raining.
Just in a lot of pain.
If it was raining, it's quite slippery even coming up. Yeah. and we got a bit of crowd towards
Right
the
leg,
end.
right calf,
Yeah.
to my hip.
And there was where it came from, I don't know, a couple of
It's getting hard to
cut across the
walk.
Adam and Rani will inspire other people because through their actions, through their pain, through their own suffering, they've provided opportunity for others to see that they can move forward in their lives despite what they perceive as a disability. They can turn that into a motivational ability and become more than they thought they could be.
I turned 30 in 2017 and I decided that for my 30th I was going to go to Canada. I flew into Vancouver full of beans and excitement and I started feeling really bad. And I got this really intense headache, and it was a little while later that I learned, after seeing a photo of my head, that I had actually had my third brain hemorrhage.
I'm a bit sticky. And your feet are really muddy.
Yeah. Once the rhythm's broken, it's really tough. It actually becomes more of a mental battle, and I feel like it uses more energy to try and get yourself back into that rhythm than it does just to pace yourself at your own pace.
When I stopped, going behind you was 3 times more painful than when I was just...
The moment you get your breath back down just a little bit, I'm happy, alright?
The thing is, like,
I don't want to break your rhythm completely.
over the
You were starting to wheeze heavy. All we have to do is just go, let's stop for a second, let's keep going.
Rani's breathing is not fantastic.
As soon as it slows down a bit, I'll let you go, alright?
Cool.
It will come down to a mental toughness.
I understand that every step is going to be a battle sometimes, just like it is for the teenagers that we spoke to at Youth Off the Streets, and like it was for me in Canada. There were moments where I felt like I wasn't going to be okay, but each step I was like, one more step, you've got this. One more step, just take one more step, you'll get there, you'll get there. And I was talking to myself the whole time, like, come on, you've got this.
What do you reckon? Next stop, I'll give you some steroids.
Yeah, probably. Oh man, that hurts.
I'm a fairly stubborn person by nature, and I actually think that my stubbornness has helped me. I don't give up. I'm finishing that track, even if I have to crawl over the finish line.
I know. Doing so well. Doing so good. The name, The Age of Ability, was inspired at the Rio 2016 Paralympics, where I was looking around at the 2,000 athletes all moving through the world in different ways, and was thinking to myself, I don't see anyone who's disabled.
The Age of Ability is about transforming the way people perceive their limitations and inspiring them to achieve more than they ever dreamed was possible.
It's born from the idea that we can achieve more when we work together in community. And that's what inspired us to work with Clubs New South Wales. Their focus on giving back to the community is what made this all possible. It's easier to transform our limitations when we do it together. And that's exactly what Rani and myself have done. We've gone through some difficult times, and if we can do Kokoda, it really means that we're unstoppable.
You've got 2 options. You can either give up, or you can challenge what is possible.